Okay, so first of all, if I fall asleep at any point, I apologise. I think I'll be alright. I got coffee here, but I was up till like 4 a.m. jamming last night. Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about my tuning that I use primarily for playing rock and blues rock. And my second tuning, which is the Wilde minor tuning. So I'm going to start off by telling you kind of why I invented it and how it came about and how it works. So hands up who has one already. Oh, okay, that's cool. Great. So yeah, I will get everyone playing a little bit. I don't really just want you to listen to me talk for the whole session. If you get to try some stuff out as well. So I started playing harmonica when I was like 16 or 17, and initially I started out by playing along to like Muddy Waters records. And then all the kind of, the usual old school Chicago blues stuff, Sonny Boy Williamson, Junior Wells, Carrie Bell, Big Water, Little Water, etc. Trying to mess away. But before that, I'd been listening to a lot of rock music growing up. Both the 70s classic rock bands like Thin Lizzy, Free, Bad Company, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC.
How old are you?
I'm 35. But my dad had a pretty good record collection, and I used to just go through it all, and it was quite mixed. But Thin Lizzy Jailbreak was a favourite actually. I remember when I found that one in there, I was like, this is pretty cool, Dad. Like, you must have been really cool once. Like,
exactly. How often do you like your dad's?
Yeah. And do you still have these clothes left that you were wearing in the 70s? Like, but so I was influenced a bit by that. So it's classic rock as well as the blues stuff, but also by the rock and metal that was going on at the time, which was like early 2000s. So like bands I was into then, I don't know if all of you will know them all, but
we're not that old.
Who?
Bands like I was quite into like Marilyn Manson and Disturbed and Silverchair and Skunk Anansie and Rage Against the Machine and stuff like that, and some of the kind of pop punk stuff that was going on as well, but that hasn't really found its way into this yet, at least. So I always had this kind of more aggressive influence, I suppose. But when I first started playing harmonica, there wasn't really, I didn't really have the skill or the sort of understanding of the instrument to be able to use much of that influence. It was just, I suppose it just kind of came through a bit of my attack and intensity, It's quite an angry teenager. I still am. I still am an angry teenager trapped inside a 35-year-old man's body. So, first band, sort of proper band I was in was when my sister got signed to Proof Records. She's a blues singer, guitar player. And we had a guitarist in that band called Ben Paul, who kind of went off to do his own thing later on. And he was more, whereas I was into the old Chicago blues kind of stuff, he was more into Gary Moore and Stevie Ray Vaughan and that kind of thing. Which at the time, I wasn't all that into, Now I love it. Gary Moore's one of my biggest influences on my playing now. But back then I was these kind of older guys that are blues purists.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, only traditional.
I was a mini one of them. So I was well, that's not blues. There's too many notes up, no feeling. Yeah. And a lot of the time you're just kind of repeating stuff that you've heard someone say. Haven't really given it a chance. And I think a lot of the time it's kind of like jealousy when people go, oh, it's too fast, too many notes. What they mean is, I wish I could play that fast. So I was in a band from the get-go with this kind of fast blues rock guitar player. So I was having to try to keep up, if I followed his solo, I was having to try and keep up with that level of intensity. So not just the speed, but the intensity level. So, I'd play kind of... And I find I'd kind of end up just using holes 1 to 6 a lot of the time, because if you go above that, and I didn't play any overblows back then, obviously you have to kind of go major around hole 6 and 7, because you haven't got a flat third, and you can't sort of wail on the 5th up there in the same way, because it's not a bendable note. So I started to get quite frustrated as time went on, that it's like, well, I'm only using like holes 1 to 6, and I wish I could do that in the upper octave as well, like it's stupid, like why can't I do that in the upper octave? Like he can, on the guitar. So and a big thing was not being able to, when you're playing in second position, not being able to bend the root note the octave up. So obviously all the time we scoop into our 2 draw and we add a lot of vibrato to it, but you can't do that on the 6th blow because it's not a bendable note. Okay, you could valve it and get a little bit of valve bending expression, but it's not the same thing. So all of the guitar players that I was listening to, so like blues players like Buddy Guy, Peter Green, Albert King, they would do that kind of thing all the time. I need to use my tuning to do it though. But so stuff like right? So it always frustrated me that I couldn't get that kind of level of intensity on that particular note. So that was problem number 1 that I'd always had in my mind that I want to find a solution for. Problem number 2 is the fact that the minor third and the flat 5 are missing in the upper octave without an overblow and an overdraw. And I was never that into the sound of overblows. Again, I know that's the kind of thing that people usually, when they say that, what they mean is, I wish I could overblow better. And there are certainly people like Jason and Howard and a lot of other people probably in this room that could probably overblow better than me. Like I can't get them, but I've never been able to get to the point where I can put the level of expression on those notes and really wail on them and slide in and out of them the way that I would like to be able to. And I don't think it's possible to really get them the way I would like them to sound. Some people can get close, but to me, a bent note or an overblown note will never be as good as that, right? But that's just one of the limitations of the harmonica. You can't have everything as a pure bendable draw note, I suppose. But I wanted to try and make as much as possible a pure bendable draw note. So we don't have the flat third and flat 5 in second position without the 6 overblow, which gives us the minor third, and the 7 overdraw, which gives us the flat 5. And when you think about it, considering that these days most people view this as a blues instrument, that's kind of ridiculous. Like, like one whole octave of the harp, there's 2 notes missing from the blues scale. And that's because obviously it wasn't designed to be a blues instrument. It wasn't designed to be played in any position, as far as I'm aware, other than the key that's stamped on it. So my tuning is designed with second position in mind. You can play it in all 12 positions, but it's designed with second position in mind. And it's designed to give you all the notes of the blues scale, minor pentatonic, major pentatonic, first and foremost, in a layout that gives you as much expression as possible, right? So you're able to, your root, third and fifth, so the main chord tones, are always a bendable draw note. And the flat 7 is always a draw bend or a regular draw note. So if you're playing the blues scale, for example, the only scale degree in the blues scale that you need a blow note for is the 4th degree, right? So if I'm coming down, I'll kind of put my hand up when I hit a blow note, right? Right, so there were 3 blow notes in that whole thing. And you can leave them out if you want. So I didn't play a single blow note there, you know? So it really kind of lends itself to the style I developed for myself, this kind of like more guitar-like thing, trying to get fluidity by getting everything as a draw note or a draw bend where possible.
Do you mostly pucker or tongue block?
Mostly pucker, but I'll kind of switch to tongue block when I want to put a slap in, or if I want to play like, you know, that kind of thing, then I'll tongue block everything just because it sounds better for that, you know. So the layout that I came up with, I experimented with a few different things, and some of them were quite radically different from Richter. Some of them were sort of slight variations on Richter. What I learned from that was I've got no issues at all with holds 1 to 5. I really like holds 1 to 5 the way they are, and I didn't want to change anything there. Reason being, all of that stuff like I just played, I didn't want to lose any of that. I didn't want to lose 4 and 5 draw because I use that a lot. Didn't want to lose that trill for sure, you know, or 2 and 5 split. So holds 1 5 had to stay as they are. Now I have to mention Brendan Power now because my tuning, you may know, is pretty close to the Power Bender tuning, and that definitely inspired it. There's, I think, 3 reeds different from the Power Bender, 4 reeds different from the Power Draw. So,
can you say that again, please?
It's 3 reeds different from the Power Bender, and 4 reeds different from the Power Draw, or maybe the other way around. But yeah.
How many different from Richter?
I don't know. I didn't sleep enough.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Well,
So,
do you have the power bender? Is the power bender a harp that you've designed?
No, that's one of Brendan Power's inventions,
Okay.
and he very kindly sent me one because when I saw a video of him talking about it, I was like, well, you know, we've been trying to solve the same problems, you know, and I think Brendan as well would have everything as a bendable draw note if he could. In fact, he does have a harp that's like that doesn't have any blow reeds or any blow notes in it, the Asia bend. But for me, because Brendan plays a lot of stuff, but primarily he plays like sort of Irish folk kind of stuff. With his tuning, the root note, which he has as a 6th draw, only bends a half step, a semitone, to a major 7 if you're in second position. So when you scoop up on your root, I'm scooping from a flat 7 there. On his tuning, you're scooping from a major 7, So it sort of colours everything you play major, which is good for some stuff, but it's not good for like blues, you know. So if I was going to write the whole numbers on this harp for someone who hasn't played it before, it doesn't have whole numbers on it, but if I was going to write them on, I would write them like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that's 1 to 5 of Richter tuning, and then 2, 3, 4 to 10. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, same as Richter, and then 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so this is it's actually holds 6, 7, and 8, but they're the same as 2, 3, and 4, an octave higher, right? Exactly the same. I think on Power Bender they're slightly different.
Draw notes and below notes?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So basically, anything that you do in holes 2, 3, and 4, you could argue that 2, 3, and 4 is like the sweet spot for blues harmonica in second position. You know, like Howlin' Wolf didn't use much more. That kind of stuff, you know, like it's in everything. You can do that. In holes 6, 7, and 8 now, in exactly the same way. So, you know, if I take a lick like Hoochie Coochie Man or something. It's early. So it's all the same, and it's the same layout, same bends in the same places. So the first thing, yeah, Rob.
Do you have all the bends on the 2 and 3 in the upper octave?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So hole 6 is exactly like hole 2. So I'm talking the whole of this workshop. I'm going to talk in second position scale theories to sing. So 2 draw is the root, 2 blow is the major 6. So you have 2 draw bends in hole 2, and it's the same, right? Hole 3 is exactly the same as hole 7. So okay. Because they're higher reeds, obviously the mouth position is a little bit different. The main thing that I had to get used to when I started playing these high like draw bends was, you know, most people teach for a draw bend, you go E-or, right? And you open up and drop your jaw down and pull your tongue back, right? And that's obviously true, especially for a really low bend, we really have to open up. Up here, if you're used, you know, if you hit that 7 draw bend with the same mouth shape that you use for the 3, you're going to go flat on it because you don't need to open up that much. So I just kind of focus on keeping my teeth close together when I play these bends, and it stops me from going too far on them. But once you get used to them, it's great because you don't have to open up a lot, and it's very small adjustments with the mouth and the tongue to bend. So you can move in and out of the bends extremely quickly, you know. Right, did someone have a question? Yeah.
You've got 2, 3, 4. Is in that higher register 6, 7, 8 or 2, 3, 4, and then I can't see what the ripples are like.
Sorry, yeah.
Is 10 the same?
Get to 10.
Okay. So these are still all draw. You don't have to switch over at 6 and 7 and reverse
No.
Or
So
withdrawal?
that reversal change thing doesn't happen. The draw reed is always a higher pitch than the blow reed. So there are no blow bends, there are no overdraws, but every draw note bends. Every blow note overblows, but you don't really need overblows. The only scale degree you would need an overblow for in each octave would be the minor 6, right?
Oh, well,
Like the 4/1 overblow.
are the replays the size of special 20s or EMs?
So the actual model of harp is the Seidel 1847 Classic.
Oh, the Marine Beam.
No.
No,
Oh, the
Seidel.
Seidel, I'm
Seidel.
sorry.
Seidel, yeah. Woodcomb, yeah. It's just a regular out the box Seidel, but tuned to my
Do you
configuration.
know if that fits a 20? Because I have all these custom combs that fit
Oh,
special
right.
20 with those.
They don't do the Bertram. You can't put a special 20 comb on a 1847.
No. We have other measures, completely other measures.
Yeah, it's
I'm in trouble.
Completely different.
So Will, is the embouchure similar to higher harps up there?
Yeah, so something I've found, I never used to be that great at like blow bends, and
So is that the real reason you?
no. Well, the main reason is when you use the blow bends in second position, they don't bend to the notes that you want most of the time. But I found my blow bends and my playing on the high blow notes and vibrato on high blow notes has got much better from working on these high draw bends, draw notes. So the embouchure is like, for just regular draw notes up here, I'm going for more of an E, more of a closed mouth, and always puckered rather than tongue blocked. I think if you try and like fatten the notes up by tongue blocking and really like opening it up, because I'm got a big like resonant, or not resonant, but more of a bassy sound. I mean, it sounds alright actually, but I prefer to play to the strengths of these notes and bring out the brightness in them, especially for playing rock, because you want cuts. Like, there's a reason why Axl Rose sings really like nasally, and it's because if he sang like, Pavarotti or something, it wouldn't cut through, it wouldn't sit on top of the mix the way that it's supposed to, So people in blues are always talking about getting a fat tone, and obviously a fat tone is great a lot of the time for a lot of things, but people never talk about getting a thinner tone and like thinning the tone out. And like if I say, he's got a thin tone, then people take that as like a criticism, an insult. But actually, sometimes you want a thin tone. Sonny Terry used to, especially on that 4 draw, he'd kind of, instead of placing the sound in the back, he'd like really bring out the brightness. And the way to get that, or the way I found to get that, is by going with a more closed mouth, more E shape with the teeth close.
What key is that?
This one is an A.
A.
Yeah. So,
And did you say the numbers are not embossed?
there's no whole numbers written on this. On the Session Steel model there is. On the 1847 model there isn't. When I first played one of these, not my tuning, but 1847, about at least 15 years ago now, I think. I was like, I got it out of the box, like, oh, there's no whole numbers. This is scary. But it actually makes you better not having them, I think, because you don't worry. Then you have to rely on feel.
That's right.
So it doesn't take long to get used to.
Yeah.
He asked you what key, but I remember when I asked you what key should I get, you said a G or an A.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing all those high bends, when you get much higher than that,
Yeah.
you've got, you can still do it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're just starting out with this tuning, I would recommend, and unless if you're someone who really loves like your F harp and your E harp, then you'll probably be fine. But otherwise, I would start with one of the lower keys, G, A, B flat maybe.
Is C too high?
C, I mean, I'm so used to them now. You know?
Yeah.
It just takes a little more getting used to. I think to begin with, the lower keys are a bit easier to get used to the high bends. So the highest key offered is the D. Which I do actually use quite a lot in my rock band. Yeah. Higher than that, I found one, it gets a little bit too shrill, even for me, and the reeds just start to become a bit too short and stiff. They don't respond.
How about a low D?
Don't offer it in a low D. I played around with the parameters, you know,
Yeah.
and I found
the
like.
lowest they make is G.
Sorry.
The lowest they make for these are G.
Can get them in like low F and low E.
Oh, okay.
I use a low F and low E, but we don't have much here.
No, that's it.
Today.
What about the higher key, high G? I use that.
No man. He like holds down on the high G. It's like, yeah. I mean, it's kind of cool, but no. But what I find actually, if you're someone that carries a high G and a regular G,
Yeah.
like I always have, I don't really use. I just use wild tuning now in those situations because.
That's what I was thinking about this.
Yeah,
Hotel California solo, and you kind of
Because
use the high
you
G.
get, this is the G, so you still get the cool like. But if you're in a jam like in the lobby or something and it's really loud and you go to play a solo on a G, in a loud bar, no one's going to hear that acoustically, which is why I would usually go. Because like that's always going to cut through.
Their attention.
If for whatever reason you're just not interested in playing holes 9 and 10,
Yeah.
play devil's advocate with me. Why on earth would we get a Richter tuning as opposed to a Wilde tuning?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm biased, but you know.
One reason is we've been practicing these scales, with the Richter. So
Right.
we're gonna have to learn new scales with the Wilde.
Really?
Yes
But
and no,
it's the
but
same scale,
I'm-
the same scale.
2 octaves.
Right, yeah. So there's not a lot to learn because 1 to 5 are the same. So what I would do to begin with, if you take the blues scale, right, because everyone's familiar with that, right? So if you, that's all the same as you're used to. And then instead of going to 6 blow necks, you just go to 6 draw, right? So I would recommend if you're starting with this, just do that for like, a month. Because just that changes everything, But it's only one.
Were you on Wilde tuning last night with Richie?
Yeah. So that's like the first thing to get used to is just 6 being a draw instead of a blow, and then, like I said, holes 6, 7, and 8 are just like 2, 3, and 4. So that doesn't really take any learning because it's familiar. You already do it. It's exactly the same. And then hole 9 is just the same as hole 2. So aside from hole 10, which I'll get to in a moment, there's no hole on this harp that you don't already play in Richter tuning, and the
Location changes.
Yeah, but even that doesn't change completely. Like your root note is still in holes 2, 6, and 9.
Right.
Just now it's 6 and 9 draw instead of blow. Your 5th is still 1 draw, 4 draw, 8 draw, but now that 8 draw you can bend. And
the
flat
ones-
7 is still in hole 9, but now it's a 9 draw bend instead of a 9 draw. So nothing's changed whole, So it's kind of where you expect it to be still.
In this example, 6, 7, 8,
Yeah,
hole 9 is 2.
yeah. Same reed relationship, just 2 octaves up from hole 2.
Got it. And you will talk about 10.
Yeah.
Really, 10 is the only one that's an aberration.
Yeah. So
Otherwise,
hole,
it's just 1 octave above.
So hold 10 is an idea that I completely stole from Brendan Power. It was the thing I liked the most about his power bender and power draw when he sent it to me. So the whammer jammer bend, as most people would probably think of it, right? So on a regular A harp, that would be 10 blow and a 10 blow bend, right? So what Brendan did, and what I've done, is just switch the blow and draw reed around. So instead of 10 blow and 10 blow bend, it's now 10 draw and 10 draw bend, which to me feels a lot better, because there's something about, I don't know if you can relate, but there's something about a draw note, because you're pulling it into you, you feel like you've got a hold on it, you know? Whereas with a blow bend, I've always felt like it's getting away from me and I'm trying to keep a hold of it, you know?
So with all those draws, you have to be careful letting your air out.
Yeah. I nearly passed out on the water trout recently. Like literally, like my knees went weak and I was like, yeah, you do have to be a little bit careful. Yeah.
Breathing would be a bit different.
Yeah.
And would tabs be the same?
Well, up to hole 5 the tab would be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple questions. First of all, your vibrato,
Yeah.
is it a throat vibrato? I noticed your jaw shape.
Yeah. There's 2 vibratos that I use. The main one is throat vibrato, so right, and the other one is a jaw vibrato.
I saw you.
So the times when I would use the jaw over the throat, if I'm putting vibrato on a bend, and I don't want that kind of canned heat sound, then I'll just use the jaw instead. And then on really high notes, like there, that's jaw. If I put throat on that, I don't know, it's
more subtle.
The throat to me it doesn't seem to affect the pitch right on the higher notes. It makes it more just like a stop-start tremolo rather than like a wavy line. So I just kind of go by feel, like, yeah.
Are there all keys on this, or I mean,
So-
there are A flats and D flats?
Currently,
Not D flat. but A
currently it's available in sort of 5 most common keys used for blues and rock. So harp keys are A, B flat, C, D, G. If you contact me, I can get you any key. But I've been talking to Lars at Seidel, and you know, I think I've kind of proved this tuning now. Like, I've been using it for 5 years. It's kind of caught on. So you know, it's not going away anytime soon. Certainly, I'm always going to use it. So we're going to open it up to all 12 keys, at least in the 1847 model.
Right.
Yeah.
Last question. Do you go back and forth at all, or do you just stick to Wilde tune?
No, I still use Richter. If I'm playing other positions, I generally do that on Richter. And if I'm playing stuff that I've been playing for years, then I usually still do it on Richter. And if I want to play more traditional and sound like, you know, Big Water or someone, then I use Richter.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any, value or playability, for the Wilde tuning in any of the other positions?
Yeah. So, because, like I said, the only note that you would need an overblow for in any octave in second would be the flat 6, raised 5, however you want to think of it. So you can get all 12 notes basically with just one overblow, which means you can use any of those 12 notes as your root, which means you can play in 12 positions, right? So third position works quite well. I don't use it so much for third because I really like that 6 draw in third position. You still have that in this, it's just a whole step bend in hole 7. But the cool thing, if I'm playing third position blues on this, all the kind of like George Smith, like low octave, all that kind of stuff lays out the same up here. I don't do it often, but right. So it's good for that, and for like kind of standard first position blues stuff. Obviously, you lose all the blow bend, the cool blow bend stuff that you would normally do in first position on Richter, but you can think about the upper octave like you think about. Sorry, I'm still thinking of the. So that like textbook first position blues sound. You can get up here. Yeah. So you can certainly use it in other positions. I haven't put that much time into it, but I've had people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, you tried this scale in this position? It's really cool." And I'm like, "No."
And you said you have 2 models, and what's the difference?
Yeah, so it comes in the 1847. It also comes in the Seidel Session Steel. The Session Steel is a cheaper model. I don't know what it is in dollars, but in pounds, this one is £60 and this one's £85. The difference, really, I would say the 1847 is more airtight, more responsive, a little bit louder. I find them to be more consistent as well. Like, I've never had a bad 1847. And I play these out of the box, by the way. Partly just because I'm lazy and I can't be bothered to do any setting up or anything. Sometimes you run into a little bit of reed, what do you call it, like torsion on the high draw bends. If I kind of play them, hear that little squeal there? That's an issue that it can be fixed. You know, you get that on any harp, but it seems to be more of an issue when you get higher with the draw reeds. For my style of playing, that really doesn't bother me, because most of the time I'm hiding it with vibrato. Sometimes I actually just embrace it and make it part of my sound. You know, I actually really like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm sorry, somebody else had a quick question.
For a beginner, I mean new to Wilde tuning, which top 3 keys would you recommend?
Top 3 keys: G, A, C. I would probably say, or B flat. I mean, there's much of a muchness.
Yeah,
really.
well,
Just whatever keys you like playing. You know, whatever keys the band you play with like to play in. I suppose.
You mentioned something about an overblow in fifth hole in Richter can be what in Wilde tuning? What's the equivalent? Overblow in
5 overblow.
5, yeah.
So that gives you a major 7 in second, right? So usually in the 5 draw we have a flat 7, which gives us mixolydian instead of a major scale. You can get a major 7 with a half step bend in the 6th draw. So you can get the complete major scale in second. And so yeah, it's not just good for rock, it's not just good for blues, it's good for really anything like that you want more expression in the upper octave. I use them a lot for ballads. Sorry, I'm forgetting what I'm playing. You know, it's you can play them like sweet as well. If anyone's into country, you know, most country is like major pentatonic, and most of the expression in that kind of stuff comes from that 3-draw bend. All that kind of stuff. So you can do that in the upper octave too, like. Yeah. So there's a lot of cool things you can use it for. Yeah.
I hate to ask you to repeat yourself.
That's all right.
A minute ago, I was spacing out, and you talked about there was a problem on the high notes. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And then you created like a double stop sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So that double stop is just 8 and 9 draw.
Okay, so
And
it's an
the-
actual double stop, and not like something you're creating with feedback.
It was, but I was just bending it a little bit and just finding, if I pull it down, where it starts to squeal, and trying to make it squeal, you know. Yeah. But that double stop is unique to this tuning because gives you a fifth and then a root above.
Sweet.
Yeah.
If hole 9 translates to the higher octave of 2,
Yeah.
in your tuning, what does hole 10 translate to?
So, like I said, the blow and draw read in hole 10 are just the other way around is what they usually are. So, in second position, the 10 draw is the 4th scale degree. The half step bend in 10 draw is a major third, and the whole step bend is a minor third. And the 10 blow is a major second. So if your root is here,
Still a draw on that 10 to get
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so you can still get nice high notes.
Yeah. Let me just refer to my bullet points. That's the stuff
I want to ask you about octaves.
Yeah. That's a good question. Right. So, holes 1 to 5, you don't lose any of the splits, obviously. There's two things I miss sometimes with my tuning from Richter, right? Because the whole thing with alternate tunings, there's always a trade-off, right? You gain one thing, you lose another. Sometimes you get some cool happy accidents as well. So the only two things, honestly, that I ever miss that make me pick up Richter again when I'm playing in secondaries is the 3 and 6 blow octave. So if I'm playing these kind of... But we haven't actually lost that because you can get it as a 3-7 blow, like a 3-hole tongue split. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 7. So hole 7 is just like hole 3. So we have that, you know, you have the repeat note in 2 draw and 3 blow. You've got that same thing in 6 and 7. So you still have that octave. It's just a 3-hole tongue split. For a lot of people, that's probably not an issue. For me, like I can do them, but I don't like doing them. You know, I find them really uncomfortable. The other thing I sometimes miss is losing the note that you usually have in your 6th draw, because I do like to wail on it. It's that kind of like Paul Butterfield kind of thing. Again, we haven't actually lost that note. You can get it as a 7 draw whole step bend. But it's being a bend, it's not quite as pure. It's not as pretty, it doesn't soar as much. But those are the two compromises, really. But you gain so much more. Yeah.
I apologize, man, I came in late.
That's all right.
Could you just sum up real quick? The first 5 holes are the same
Standard.
as Richter?
Yeah. And then
basically it's doubled on octave
and then
high.
holes 6, 7, and 8 are 2, 3, and 4.
And 10?
And 10, the reeds are reversed, the blow and draw reed. Reverse, so the blow note and blow bend are now a draw note and draw bend.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I see.
Cool.
Great, thank you.
So on the 9-hole, which is like the 2-hole,
Yeah.
you can get 2 bend notes.
2 bends. So if you're in second position, you bend it down to a major 7 and then a flat 7.
Well, I'm sorry to keep asking this, but so then the 9 to 10 transition is like the 6 to 7?
No, it's not really like anything because like I said, all the holes are like you already have on Richter, apart from hole 10. Like you don't have that particular reed relationship anywhere on Richter, you know. But it does it because it's the only hole and it's the last one on the harp. Me, it doesn't throw me off or anything.
So you don't have to switch to a blow to draw. You know, you're doing draw, blow,
yeah,
draw,
yeah.
blow.
So if I go like, that's all draw. All of that's draw.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about blow octaves?
So blow octaves.
Maybe the same form.
So yeah, after so 3 and 7, and then they're all 3-hole splits from there. Yeah.
So you want to hit like the 4 under 4.
So you've got 3 and 7. It's an octave. 4 and 8 are an octave because these are the same. The 5, but 5 blow is the same as the 9 blow up here, so that's the same. This one wouldn't be an octave because the reeds were reversed here. But yeah. So before I had this tuning, there were really 3 tunings that I liked to use. Richter, obviously, for like most kind of bluesy stuff where you can alternate between major and minor pentatonics, playing over like dominant 7 kind of chords. And then I liked to use natural minor tunings sometimes for proper like minor key stuff, which is just Richter with a few notes flattened on it. The third, if you're in second position again, the thirds are flattened, the 6ths are flattened to give you minor 3rds and minor 6ths. And then I like to use the country tuning, which is the same as Richter, but just the 5 draw is raised from a flat 7 to a major 7. So for me now, the Wilde tuning has, for the most part, replaced Richter tuning in my playing. So I made a natural minor version of it, which I call Wilde minor tuning. And all that is I applied the same changes to my tuning that you would apply to Richter to make that natural minor. So the 3rds are flattened in the 3 draw and the 7 draw, which means that you can, instead of, you can get a minor chord. And the 6th degree of the scale is flattened as well. So the major 6 that we have in 5 blow, 2 blow, has been lowered. So you still have your like bluesy stuff laid out in the same places. So like to play a blues scale, it's the same, you just don't have to bend the 3 draw anymore because it's already flattened. But you've got the advantage of that minor chord, and you've got the minor 6 in there if you want to start filling in the extra notes from the minor scale to make it like more minor as opposed to just pentatonic. Another thing that's cool about this tuning is from holes 2 to 6 you get a minor pentatonic without any bends, and pretty much every note is a draw. And you can keep going actually before you need a bend. Right? There's no bends there. precise, so you can kind of, it's just like hitting a bunch of drums, you know. and then if you start throwing in some bends, then you know you can get more expressive still. So I really like the wild minor. Again, I'm biased, but I like it.
And sorry, what did you say about the blues scale on?
So it's
like the 1847.
Still there
Mm-hmm.
with the minor tuning. You mean?
No, like your regular.
Oh, so yeah.
1847.
So if you wanted to, so regular wild tuning, blues scale would be 2 draw, 3 draw whole step, 4 blow, 4 draw bend, 4 draw, 5 draw, which is standard, and then 6 draw, 7 draw half step, 8 blow, 8 draw bend, 8 draw, 9 draw whole step bend, 9 draw, and then if you want to keep going, 10 draw whole step bend, 10 draw, right? So, I won't write out the low there because it's just standard. Rob?
Would it make any sense to try your tuning with a country tune, like a
You're right.
seventh instead of
That's what, yeah. So that's the other one that I now do,
okay.
which I call Wild Country, which isn't commercially available yet. At least
right.
I have made some for people because I just take one of these
You've
and tune the
used it
5 draw up.
on things?
Yeah, there's a couple of ballad videos I've got on YouTube. I didn't bring one with me, but I used it on I Can't Make You Love Me, like the Bonnie Raitt song.
Okay.
And I used it on Desperado by the Eagles, but then Don Henley gave me a copyright strike and that video got taken down. He's known for it. But it sounded great on it.
got to take it down or demonetized?
No, take it down. It got strikes.
You couldn't cover his song?
Oh no!
It's not Don
he's got a
Henley.
team of lawyers out taking any Eagles
Don.
covers off of YouTube.
I didn't want
So don't cover an Eagles song on YouTube.
So when you, even though it's not available, when you country tune, you take a regular wild and then
Raise the 5 draws, same as you would with Richter, yeah. Because you've got that major 7 in 2 draw anyway as a half step, and you've got it in 9 draws a half step. You have got it in the 6 draw as a half step, but it's just nice to have it as a pure note in that middle octave at least. So,
Can I ask you a question about your minor tune?
yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
so on your minor tune, I'm guessing that the below notes are a minor chord, like your 4th.
Yeah,
right? So you have the same thing when you go up above the 6th draw. Do you have the same blow deal where you have the
so
minor
down
chord
here
up there too? On all the blow notes?
So in second, that's roof, 4 chord.
There you go. Thank you. That was what I
Cool.
I thought that was it. Yeah.
Cool.
so a song like Havana Gila, which changes key.
Like what?
Havana Gila, which is minor.
Okay, I don't even know it. So
Watch Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah, you might. Okay, stuff I've used this for in my band. So I've got a hard rock band called Bad Luck Friday, and in that band I use pretty much exclusively the regular wild tuning. But I've used wild minor in a few of my YouTube videos. Like I did just like a solo cover of Stairway to Heaven, which I haven't played for a while. I can see if I can remember it. that because that solo is, it's kind of bluesy. So you've got all the bluesy expression there, and it's mostly minor pentatonic, but it's got that minor 6 in it, which that note would be a 1 overblow usually. So this is good for it.
So, sorry to belabor the point, but so you've got, it shows 4 blow and 8 blow, but you can't do blows.
You can do blows.
On your,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
There's no blow bends anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
just blow bends.
So
Okay,
the
thanks.
blow notes, like blow 1, again in second position, blow 1 is the 4, blow 2 is a major 6, blow 3 is a root, blow 4 is a 4, blow 5 is a major 6, blow 6 is also a major 6. So this is one thing that might confuse some people. And a couple of people order one online and say, there's something wrong with this, these 2 reeds are the same note. It's like, yeah, I know. So, because, like I said, I didn't want to change anything in holes 1 to 5, they had to stay the same. But I wanted hole 6 to behave exactly like hole 2, right? Because I want my tonic in the draw, and I want it to bend a whole step to a flat 7. I don't really use that bend to play the flat 7 that much. Usually I play it in the 5 draw. But it needs to bend to a flat 7 so I can do that with it, right? And like I said, Brendan's tunings bends to a major 7, which is great if you're playing major key stuff, but if you're scooping up from that major 7 in the blues, then it's going to sort of make everything you play sound major on that note. So 5 blow and 6 blow are the same. If I'm playing like a major scale or a major pentatonic, if I'm going up to that note and then coming back, then I'll use the 5 blow. If I'm going to keep going up, then I'll usually jump over hole 5 and play that note in the 6 blow instead. Yeah.
As a quick anecdote about the Wilde minor tuning.
Yeah.
So I ended up with one from like the guy that works on my harmonicas, and I always liked the song Take 5 like a lot. But I found playing it in regular 3rd position on a Richter was always frustrating because you couldn't get certain like real fast runs of notes like how Paul Desmond plays it. So as soon as I got your Wilde minor tune, I was like, oh, boom, that's right. That's the first thing I heard.
Great.
So I worked up a version and like I entered it in Constantine Breinfeld's own monthly harmonica challenge thing.
Right.
And I was super happy with it. I was like, all right, when I get here to Spa, when I see Peter Madcap Ruth, I'm going to tell him, do you know about the Wilde minor tuning? Because he's famous for playing Take 5.
Oh, right, okay.
He played Take 5 with Dave Brubeck. Not like on a record, maybe they recorded it, but he's played with Dave Brubeck and Dave Brubeck's son. So like, I gotta tell him, because I think it'll sound way better. So I saw him last night, and I was like, I mean, he doesn't know me at all, so he pleasantly listened to me, or politely listened to me for like the minute that I explained. He's like, listen, man, I've been playing that 54 years. I don't need to change anything. Like, put his hands together, nodded, like,
cool. I can see why.
He plays in third. He plays in 3rd position.
Okay, cool. Yes.
So you like approach Seidel and you're like, hey, I want to like reinvent the harmonica. How did that work?
Well,
okay, let me put words in your mouth. I mean, you took a tuning and you got a major manufacturer to build your tuning. How did you do that?
Well, I was already endorsed for Seidel for like 10 years or something, and then it was actually here in one of these seminars 5 years ago.
I was here 5 years.
And I just kind of arrived at this tune, and I was still using a few other like prototype things and just, like experimenting by changing a note here or there, but I just kind of arrived at this one, and I think I just recorded Lazy, the Deep Purple thing with it. It's like So I did a workshop about that, and basically what I've said today about how I got there and what it does, and Is Bertram still here? But Bertram was sat at the back of the room taking notes, and he really liked it, you know. So actually he kind of put it as a something that people could get on the harp configurator at first. And then I was like, hang on a minute, like, what's this wild rock tuning on the website? Like, can we maybe, like, you know, no. So I said I want to try and bring it out as a commercial, you know, product. And spoke to Lars at Seidel about it, and he was like really excited about the idea, and said let's do something. And so we put my skull logo on it, and the rest is history.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was here 5 years ago, and you were
So-
starting out with that. It was really
Cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
Somebody told me last night that it's an alteration of the power bender, and I don't even know the configuration of the power bender, but
Yeah.
I know that you made some tweaks. I had one for a minute, and then I gave it to a friend of mine, and
you could look at it that way. Like I said, it definitely inspired it. It's the same concept where all the draw notes bend and the upper octave lays out like the lower octave.
Yeah.
My one, the upper octave is, well, you know, 6, 7, and 8 are exactly like the lower octave, whereas Brendan's are almost like it. Because I think what he was doing was trying to get as many notes from the chromatic scale as possible without overblows, whereas I was less concerned with that, but more concerned about getting those notes laid out in a way that would be as expressive as possible for playing like major and minor pentatonics.
I love the draw tonic, because that's what sells the whole thing.
Right.
To me,
Yeah, right.
The
Yeah.
draw tonic, because when you go up there and hit it, because you can put some juice on it, put some sauce on it.
That's it.
That you can't on blow 6.
Yeah.
And some again, what's happening in 10?
Blow and draw reed are the other way around.
It's the
So
same.
the blow bend is now draw bend.
They're the other way around, the same notes, like a C, like on a C.
Yeah.
On a C
So
it'd
the
be
draw reed is tuned to the note that the blow reed was tuned to, and the blow reed is tuned to the note that
So you
the
don't
draw
have
reed
the
is.
8-10 octave. Right?
True. Yeah.
And your overdraws, non-overblow.
I don't know how much time we have.
Thank you, Will.
Does anyone know what time we? I don't know if we've finished. I'm just asking. What time we meant to finish? Someone know?
It's 10.
I think
Is it 10?
So I wanted to ask you, do you have any like personal, when you were doing this, and I know you've done a lot of covers,
Right.
the rock songs,
Oh no, you're
for us to try to, rock bluesy things, for us to think about trying to play along to that.
Very good.
I've got loads on YouTube. I've got as far as like lessons and taps and things, not really, but I've got a YouTube lesson on Freebird and on Lazy. I mean, they're probably the only lessons I've done on songs on this stream. Yeah.
Will, you got only 25 minutes. You got till 10:30.
Yeah, till
Oh,
10:30.
can I just say one thing, a little bit of self-promotion while I'm stood here? That's all right.
Guys, please.
Thank you. Yeah, just a little bit of shameless self-promotion while I'm stood up here in front of you.
That's okay.
I have an online harmonica course now. I don't have one for this tuning yet, as it happens, but I probably will make one as an add-on at some point. I'm not sure what level everyone is in this room, but I have a free 3-week beginner to intermediate course. So with that one, if you're a complete beginner, it takes you through from like playing a single note to bending a note to learning the major scale in all 3 octaves, and then improvising using that scale over backing tracks. So even if you're a bit more advanced, I think you'll still get something out of it because of the improv exercises. You know, improvising with a scale is more of a concept that you can, make as difficult or as easy as you want to. So yeah, it's a free course. I also have a much bigger, like 10-part blues course, and with that, it's all about being able to improvise over any blues tune in a major or minor key. And I talk about my vibrato in a lot of depth and fine-tuning bends, different improv techniques using scales, and you can sort of call and response with me over backing tracks and stuff. So if anybody wants to check that out, there is a discount code for Spa members. It's in the Harmonica Happenings magazine, but I'll put it up here as well. If you use code SPA20, it gets you 20% off. And the course is called, I wish I hadn't given it such a long web domain. Harmonica.
It's your real name?
It is.
I thought so.
It's William Wilde, yeah.
So you live up to your name.
Thank you.
The Wild Man of the Harmonica.
You're in a paragraph.
WillWildeHarmonicMasterclass.com. But if you forget that, you can probably just Google Will Wilde Harmonica course and you should find it.
Do you still use a Richter tuning at all? And if you do, cognitively, how do you approach, okay, you're going to use your Richter now? I'm back to my own parts.
Personally, I've never found it a problem. I think because I've played Richter for, I don't know, like more than 10 years, 15 years or something, it's always going to be there, you know. Sometimes if I've played wild tuning like a lot and then I get back on it, it takes me like a second. You know, I might go up above hole 6 and choke a draw note because I've tried to bend it. But I find I kind of instantly adapt and I just remember what harp I'm on. But in terms of like switching between note layouts, I've never found that an issue really, because I think as long as you know why you're wanting to use this tuning for this song, it all makes sense, you know, like, because you want to use it because you can do this here, you know. I think some people just sort of buy a tuning hoping that it will make them sound like me or, you know, like whatever, and don't really like don't work out how the notes are laid out and just do the same thing that they that they always do, and you know, and yeah.
What about the other way? Like when you're like in the wild tuning, what comes back from your everything is baked into your psyche from Richter.
Yeah.
Do you ever go? You know, you're so in the moment, and then you
no,
because
honestly,
you've really assimilated to that.
Yeah, because I've practiced a lot on this and
I've
practiced a lot on that, and everything on this is just like the whole song that. So personally, I don't find it a problem.
See, to me, the switch would be easier because you're making 3 of those holes exactly what we're already playing.
Exactly, yeah. So once you're used to it, yeah.
I guess sort of try to teach harmonica a little bit. And one thing I find in the wild tuning, like I'll see people post online, I want to get something different, I'm going to get a wild tuning.
Yeah.
But like the problems you were solving, like I could play guitar licks here, but not here, so you knew guitar licks already, and I want to cut harder because I couldn't cut on the low end.
Right.
And it's like so many beginner harp players where they're kind of not ready to cut, and they don't know guitar licks yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you don't know those 2 things, then like, I would tell them, like, don't buy a wild tuning,
right?
Because you're just all of a sudden being way higher pitched and annoying people way harder than you were before.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah.
I think what it might be akin to is drop tuning on a guitar, drop D tuning. You retune it. It's not, you know, it's just one note, but still your whole. But when you do it, you know what you're doing it for. So I think it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Or going from a diatonic to a chromatic.
Yeah.
You know, C and C are both keys of C's. The notes are laid out different. You've got to learn the difference.
Yeah. Also, these are for sale in the vendor room downstairs. They're usually $109. There's a Spa price of $98, but they are selling fast. We might be out of A's already. I think there were 1 or 2 left last time, but we can get them downstairs. Any other questions just before we go?
If we want to tune them ourselves?
If you want to tune them yourself,
how much sense
from a Richter, I wouldn't recommend it. Like, if you're just making a natural minor or a country from a Richter, then sure, but it's quite a lot of retuning in like in five holes, you know. So you're gonna kind of weaken the reeds a lot. You could do it, yeah, but I wouldn't recommend it. I made my first ones like that, and it. I don't want to do it again.
How long did it last? You hit it pretty hard.
It lasted a while. I've still got some of them.
Oh, really?
But the about like how long the harps last though. This is my case of wild tuned harmonicas, and I've been playing this tuning almost exclusively for 5 years now, and if you look, see some of them are white and some of them are wood. So the white comb ones are the first prototypes I had made by Zidel. So that's where they say config on, just configured.
That's the resin gum?
Yeah. Whereas the wood comb ones are the actual like ones produced as wild harmonicas. And I've got a C and a D are two of those, you know, and I've played them a lot. I use the D all the time in my band, and it's still going strong. The C is still going strong. This is the same C I recorded the Freebird video with. Have you seen that? So you know, it took quite a lot of a beating, like just like practicing for that video and just in the take as well. But I don't play them hard. People think because it's rock and it sounds aggressive that I'm playing hard, you know. And people will come up to me sometimes and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm a really hard player. Like I'm really like, you know, I really need steel reeds because I hit them so hard. Like I'm gonna be impressed like that." I'm like, "Well, you're an idiot. Like you're blowing up your harps every 5 minutes. Like something's wrong, man. Like." What I usually do to people when they ask me how hard I play is this. Right, so if I was playing hard, I would not be able to hold that note for that long. And that's like... It's quite an intense sounding note, especially if I put it through an amp. That would sound pretty aggressive, you know. I'm not using a lot of air at all. I'm actually kind of holding back the amount of air. Because if I was going, all my air's gone immediately, you know. And it doesn't sound good when you do that because the reed doesn't resonate properly. Sometimes it'll choke or it'll play flat. So yeah, yes.
Yes, when you're playing on stage, what effects do you normally use?
Just drive, reverb. That's all I used the last couple of nights, drive and the reverb built into the amp. That wasn't really my sound because it's not my amp, it's just what was there.
Okay.
But
what's the mic you're using? Is
it's
that a Shure?
a Bayer Dynamic M88.
Is that a Revan?
It's a dynamic, but it's a lot stronger and kind of full of sound than most, than like a 58 or something. But it was a fan that follows me on YouTube, he actually kind of helped support me through the pandemic. He's a really kind guy. I've never met him in person. I've given him a few Skype lessons. If he's watching this on YouTube, thank you. He sent me this as a gift in the post. It just turned up one day with a note saying, "I really love this mic. I hope you will too. Let me know what you think." And I took it to a gig and just kind of tried it in sound check. I just got a lot of feedback at first. I was like, "Oh no, I don't like it." You know, what am I going to tell him? And then but I didn't have much time. It's like sound check at a gig, and then I got it out again later, and I realised the reason why it was just feeding back is because the output on it is way stronger than my 58 that I was using. So I didn't need anywhere near as much, you know, volume and stuff on the amp. But once I got it dialed in, it's a great mic. It's really fat.
It's Bayer?
Bayer M88. I've noticed Howard Levy is using one, I think.
Bayer M88. And you use a wireless hookup for that?
I do, yeah.
Which one do you use?
Samsung Airline, which I don't think is in production anymore. Same one Jason Ritchie has.
That's what I got.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Just quick about your two styles of your Wilde tuning. Is one a plastic comb and one a wood comb?
So the Wilde minor tuning is only available in the Woodcomb 1847 Classic. The regular Wilde tuning is currently available in the 1847 Classic with Woodcomb and the Session Steel model, which is this one.
The plastic.
Plastic, yeah. Okay. Yeah. The ones I use are the 1847. They're a better harp. That's why they cost a little bit more. You know.
Do you ever get the swelling because you're using the wood combs?
No, because they're sealed. There's some kind of lacquer they put on them, so that's not an issue. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
I missed the first part because I was learning about minor keys. Could you, like, real quick talk about what's different again?
Between
Wilde tuning and Richter tuning.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I think I caught most of it, but since we got time, if you don't
Recap
mind.
time.
So So the difference between a major scale and a minor scale, if the scale degrees, if I sing the scale degrees from major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Minor scale is different from that in that the 3rd, 6th, and 7th degree are flattened. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, on Richter tuning and on Wilde tuning, the 7 is already a flat 7. So I just flattened the 3rd, which is the 3 draw, half step. So you could get it just by bending that half step, but having it flattened the 3rd makes it more precise, and it means you can get that minor chord. And then I flattened the 6, which is the 5 blow, the 2 blow, and the 9 blow. Yeah. Yeah.
So, remember you were talking about you have the similarity between, you know how you have 2 and 3, 2 draw, 3 blow, same note?
Yeah.
Okay, you were saying that, is it 6 draw and 7 blows?
Yes, yeah. The
Okay,
6 and 7 are basically 2 and 3.
Okay, so here's an idea. I don't know if it's any good, okay? Well, so Brendan, he's got that 3rd brain going all the time.
Yeah.
And so his Patty Richter idea, you think that would work on pop? I know what you gain.
Not
what you
really.
lose.
Not for the kind of music that I want to play.
Okay.
I mean, you could, I suppose, but the Paddy Richter is more for like 1st position major and the relative 4th position minor, whereas that doesn't really apply to this layout anyway.
But the blow note doesn't really come into play on 7 in your tuning, does it?
No, but one thing that, so for example, where I've got 5 and 6 blow at the same note, a lot of people are saying, well, why don't you make one of those like, a flat 6, so you don't need the 4 overblow anymore, But the main issue for me with doing stuff like that is, at the moment, the blow notes, apart from hole 10, are all just chord tones, right? Like on a regular C harp, you get C, E, G, C, E, G. On this, you get C, E, G, C, E, E, G, C, E, G. So when you're playing glissandos, which I do a lot, or when I'm just dumping air because I've played a load of draw notes, and then I want to exhale, I do that through the harp, And if you've got one note in there that's not, then you get a funky chord, a little bit of jazz, and I think it would make it sound a little bit odd. Yeah. So that's why. Yeah.
Whenever there's an innovation, people say, really an enterprise, people say, why didn't I think about that? What's the answer that you give when people ask you, why didn't other people think about that?
I think, so in the UK, right, I know a couple of harp players, but I don't hang out with anyone that plays harmonica or anything, and I'm self-taught, and I just learned from records. Okay, I found out a few things on the internet later on, but I didn't have a teacher that was telling me you do it this way or that way, and I didn't want to just sound exactly like someone from the past or anything. And I think a lot of harmonica players, especially, more so than like guitarists and stuff. I don't mean to say this like in an insulting way to anyone, but I feel like in general the harmonica community are a little bit stuck in the past. Like, up to the 50s, things were progressing quite fast from people like Sonny Boy One and D. Ford Bailey, and then Sonny Boy Williamson, and then Little Walter, and then it kind of hit a wall in the mainstream. I mean, obviously there's plenty of people here that have taken things a lot further, but in like the mainstream, blues guitar went on from Muddy Waters and people to Buddy Guy, and then later on people like Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, David Gilmour, and then it became the blues rock thing, Angus Young, and then like Slash, and whereas harmonica in the mainstream kind of hit a wall with Little Walter, and then you've had the odd kind of person come through like John Popper or Jason Ritchie that have gone outside the box. I forget where I was going with this point now. But I think it's just because I've never been approaching it like I just want to play like Little Walter or Sonny Boy Williamson. I always wanted to play guitar really, and I do play guitar. And I wanted to play like hard rock music with it too. So it's all of that stuff really, not really like caring about what anyone else is doing or what anyone else thinks. I haven't really like listened to much harmonica music at all in the last like 5 years. The stuff I've kind of sat down and studied has been like Scott Gorham, Brian Robertson from Thin Lizzy, Gary Moore massively in the last few years. The way he attacks notes and like will like hit a note clean and then whack a load of vibrato on it. All that kind of stuff is all from Gary Moore for me, So I think that's how I came up with it, where someone else might not have thought about it. Yeah.
Necessity is the better.
If you would play Full Out of Love, which one would you use? Which tuning would you use?
My two tunings, the regular wild tuning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mary Had a Little Lamb. No.
Yeah, wild tuning as well. Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
I thought you were like making a joke.
Yeah. No. It's a serious question.
How does it go? I can't think what the riff is in it.
Oh, okay.
But it would be wild tuning, I'm sure. I only really use the minor one if something is like properly in a minor key. Something can have a minor pentatonic riff or bass line, but it's still like dominant chords. It's not like minor chords, So for anything that's sort of dominant 7, which is most blues and rock, then wild tuning. This is more versatile. Yeah.
Thank you.
Will, what's a help check on blues in Europe these days? It's coming up, down, across.
How's it going?
Yeah.
In the scene. Well, some people are doing very well. It's European blues scene has always been more of a blues rock scene. When I was like 18 and started going out touring, and like I said, I was like this sort of blues purist kid at the time that only listened to Muddy Waters and Sonny Boy Williamson and stuff. And then my sister signed Roof Records, and I was like, the biggest blues label in Europe. I was like, oh, this is going to be incredible, like, people we're going to meet and jam with. And then we got out to some of the festivals, and I was like, what's this? Like, this isn't blues, It's a lot more blues rock, and it's very guitar dominant. But there is a lot of good blues rock stuff out there, Like when Walter Trout comes over to Europe, he pulls a good crowd. People like Gary Moore, obviously he's not around anymore, but that kind of blues rock guitar heavy blues tends to kind of dominate in Europe, I would say.
In Britain, are you a blues guy or a rocker?
Do you know what? It's really annoying. Like, So when I was a blues guy, the blues community, you'll go, oh, he's a rock guy.
That's right.
Because I play it more intensely, but it's like I was still playing 12 bars, you know. And then, so when I made my rock album, Bad Luck Friday, the reason it was released as Bad Luck Friday and not as a Wilde record was because it's a new thing, right? And and we didn't want it to be a blues rock record. We wanted it to be a hard rock record that would sit alongside bands like Blackstone Cherry or like Hailstorm, something like that. But it just so happens to have like harmonica solos in it. And then all of the reviews, like Classic Rock magazine, they gave us a good review, but they put it in the blues section because they see harmonica, and it didn't make any sense because the reviews said, and I don't agree with this comparison. The reviews said, oh, the Bad Luck Friday could almost be an alter bridge substitute. You know, alter bridge are they're kind of leaning towards the metal side of hard rock. You know. And no blues in it at all, really. Just rock leaning towards metal. They said, oh, we could almost be an alter bridge substitute if it weren't for the roaring blues harp work of Will Wilde. It's like, well, you wouldn't put alter bridge in the blues section in a million years, you know. Just because there's a harmonica in it, that doesn't make it blues, you know. I don't think so, anyway.
I got a question about the draw bends and 10.
Yeah.
That are reversed.
Yeah.
I have a problem doing the blow bends on some of the lower pitched keys like A and G.
Yeah.
Is it easier to bend a whole 10 with your...
As a draw, I've always found it easier, yes. It may not be the same for everyone.
Seems like you would get more power.
Yeah. The key thing is you have to keep. It's almost like I know we've gone over time, by the way. If anyone wants to leave, I don't mind. But I'm happy to go on and see what we fix this out. Okay. So it's more like a blow bend mouth shape. So instead of, if this is your front lower teeth and this is the tongue, instead of pulling the tongue back like that and dropping the jaw, I've realised I'm actually keeping my tongue against my front lower teeth and kind of putting it like this, as you would in a blow bend, and actually closing my jaw a little bit on the bend. Okay, and that's like 10 on a D, so that's high. So that the higher you go, the more you need to close down.
And you're puckering?
Yeah, I wouldn't play the bends up there tongue blocked, mainly because, and I'm not saying you can't do it, but because the change in tongue position is so slight, I don't know. If I do them up there tongue blocked and try and go like this, I can't bend that on the tool tongue block, but or that one. On some of the lower keys I can, but they tend to go straight from here to here. I don't seem to have as much control playing the tongue blocks. Yeah.
It seems like in some ways it would be really good training for someone like me that's too lazy and relies on tabs too much, because you're forced to do ear training.
Yes, but the only thing you need to learn, and this is what I teach in my course, right? But the course isn't for this tuning, but what I teach in my course is this. People come to me all the time asking me the tabs for this song or that song. How do you play this solo? How do you play that solo? And it's like, well, these are just improvised solos using the scale. So if you learn how to play the scale really well, learn how to improvise with the scale, you can just do your own thing that sounds a bit like that. Or, you know, if you could improvise with the scale, you'd probably be able to recognize what was happening and work it out yourself, you know. So I can recommend my course to get better at that. There's ear training exercises in it too. And if you get good at doing that on Richter, then when you move to this, the only thing you need to learn is, well, how does that scale lay out in the upper octave? You know, people keep asking me, well, you're going to do a course on your tuning? And yeah, I probably will at some point. But it's like, you shouldn't need one. You know, you can do this course if you need it. but I've got one YouTube video that teaches you. Yeah, no, I'm done. How that scale and how the other scales lay out on this tuning.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, well, if you know how the scales lay out, then you just apply them to the songs you know, or the licks you know, or whatever. We got to finish. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Yeah. I know we went over, but.